Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today we will discuss about Bohr's atomic model. Students, in the previous lecture you have discussed about the Rutherford's atomic model and the defects of Rutherford's atomic model. According to Rutherford's atomic model, an atom is a spiral system in which there are continuous paths around the nucleus in which electron is continuously revolving. But that was the defect of Rutherford's atomic model, and that defect was overcome by the Rutherford by Bohr. He performed an experiment in 1913. He performed an experiment and gave his atomic model. According to the Bohr's atomic model, there are some points or there are some postulates of Bohr's atomic model. What are the postulates? According to the Bohr's atomic model, an atom is not a continuous model, is not a continuous structure, but is composed of specific discontinuous parts. Means the orbits or paths around the nucleus in which electrons are revolving continuously are discontinuous paths. These paths are not continuous or regular paths, but these are discontinuous paths having specific energy and radius. The paths around the nucleus are discontinuous paths having specific energy and radius. Number 2, electrons are revolving around these paths continuously. Electrons are revolving around nucleus continuously without emitting or gaining energy. Electrons are revolving around the nucleus continuously in a specific path without losing or gaining energy. Number 3, energy is lost or gained only when there is a transition of electron. Means when electron is shifted from one energy level to another energy level, one circular path to another circular path, when it jumps from higher energy level to lower energy level or lower energy level to higher energy level, then there will be a change in energy, and energy is lost or gained only when electron jumps from one energy level to another energy level. If electron jumps from low energy level to low energy level to higher energy level, then energy will be emitted. Then when electron jumps from low energy level to higher energy level, E will be absorbed. And when electron jumps from higher energy level to lower energy level, then from higher to lower, energy will be emitted. He said that electrons are revolving around the nucleus in specific paths. He named that specific paths as as orbits. Orbits or shells. He said that electrons are revolving continuously around the nucleus in a specific path of fixed energy and fixed radius. That specific path is known as orbit or a shell. Electron, while revolving in the same orbit or same shell, do not emit or absorb energy. Emission or absorption of energy occurs only when electron jumps from one energy level to other energy level. If electron jumps from low energy level to high energy level, then it will absorb energy, and if electron jumps from higher energy level to lower energy level, it will emit energy. Now, what are the orbits and what is the criteria for an orbit to exist or to what is the criteria for an orbit to exist? He said that only those orbits are possible. Only those orbits are possible for which angular momentum L, which is equal to mvr. Angular momentum L, which is mvr, is equal to an integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. An integral multiple of h upon 2 pi, and this integer n will be 1, 2, 3 up to so on. N can never be equal to 0, or it can never be in fractions. N must be a whole number, positive whole number from 1 to infinity. N can never be equal to 0, negative integer, or in fractions. So he said that only those orbits are possible, only those paths are possible for the revolution of electron around the nucleus, for which angular momentum will be equal to nh over 2 pi. N is the integer having the value of 1, 2, 3 up to infinity. These were the postulates of Bohr's atomic model. By using these concepts, he calculated the radius of these specific paths. He calculated the radius of the orbit in which electron is revolving continuously. How he calculated the radius? Bohr calculated the radius of an orbit. For that, he followed a methodology. What was the methodology? According to the Bohr's atomic model, an atom consists of a nucleus carrying positive charge, and there are specific circular paths around the nucleus having specific energy and specific radius. The radius and energy of this orbit is specific, and the radius and energy of this orbit is also specific and fixed. When an electron is revolving around the nucleus, let's suppose we have an electron. Let's suppose we have an electron of charge E and mass m. Let's suppose we have an electron E with mass is equal to m, charge is equal to E. It is revolving around the nucleus with velocity v. According to the Bohr's atomic model, when an electron of charge E and mass m is revolving around the nucleus with velocity v, then there are two types of forces which are acting on this electron. Number one, the force of charge between the nucleus and the electron. There are two types of forces. When the electron is revolving around the nucleus, it observes two sorts of forces. Number one, there are two types of forces. Number one, Coulomb's electrostatic force Fe or Fq. ठीक है, Coulomb's electrostatic force Fe. Fe is equal to the magnitude of this force is given by Q1 Q2 divided by R square and K. K Q1 Q2 divided by R square. This is equation number 1. As according to the Coulomb's calculations, K is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. This is equation number 2. Now by using the value of K from equation number 1 and equation number 2, we will get, by putting values of equation 2 in equation 1, we will get Fe, the magnitude of electric force, is equal to Q1 Q2 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R square. This is equation number 3. Students, as Q1 and Q2 are the magnitudes of the charges, and we have the charges of Q1 is the charge of the nucleus or proton, and Q2 is the charge of an electron. The charge of a nucleus or a proton is determined by E positive, but with the determination or with the specification of atomic number Z, as each and every nucleus is determined or is identified by its nucleus. So we say that the charge Q1 is the charge of nucleus or proton. When we said nucleus, it means Q1 is equal to Ze positive. The Z indicates the type or nature of the nucleus, and E represents the charge on nucleus, means number of protons inside the nucleus, atomic number, and Q2 represents the charge of an electron. So we can write as Q1 as Ze positive and Q2 as Ze negative. So by using the values from equation A and equation B in equation 3, by putting the values of equation A and equation B in equation 3, we will get 3 implies that Fe, 3 implies that Fe is equal to Ze positive dot E negative divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R square. Now students, this is the charge of proton and this is the charge of electron, but plus and minus means positive and negative just indicate the relative charge of proton and electron. It means we can suppose that E positive is equal to E negative, but with the relative charge of plus 1 and minus 1. So by multiplying these common bases, we will get, this implies that Fe is equal to Z E square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R square. This is equation number 4. When an electron of mass m and charge of E is revolving around the nucleus with velocity v, then the magnitude of Coulomb's electrostatic force of attraction between the nucleus and the revolving electron is given by Fe is equal to Ze square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R square. This is equation number 1. There is another force on this revolving electron, that is centripetal force. As electron is revolving around the nucleus, then a force which acts on the electron on a particle in such a way as to rotate its path into circular path, to bend a linear trajectory into a circular trajectory, into a circular path is centripetal force. A force which moves or tends to move a body in a circular path is known as centripetal force. And when a body is revolving or when a body is moving in circular path, then there must be a centripetal force acting on it. So there is another force that is acting on this revolving electron is centripetal force Fc, which is equal to mv square divided by r. This is equation number 5. Now students, according to the Rutherford's atomic model, an electron is revolving around the nucleus and the magnitude of electrostatic force and centripetal force are equal to one another. As the purpose of both of these forces, centripetal force as well as electrostatic force, is to rotate or is to revolve the electron around the nucleus. It means both of these forces are equal to one another, as Fc is equal to Fe. According to Rutherford's model, when electron is revolving around the nucleus, the magnitude of electrostatic force of attraction and centripetal force will be equal to one another. Now by putting the values of Fe from equation 4 and Fc from equation 5 in equation 6. This is equation number 6. Now by putting the values of equation 5 and equation 6 in equation 4 and equation 5 in equation 6, we will get Fc is equal to mv square divided by r and Fe is equal to Ze square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. On rearranging, this r will be cancelled out with this r square. Now we will have mv square is equal to Ze square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r. As we are interested in calculating the radius of the circular path, so we can find the radius by rearranging this equation. On rearranging, we will get r will be shifted here and mv square will be shifted here. So position of r and mv square will be replaced by one another. So on rearranging, we will get r is equal to Ze square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught mv square. This is equation number 7. Students, we can find the value of r, we can find the radius of an atom if we have the value of z, atomic number. As atom which is under consideration is known to us, so atomic number will be known. E is the magnitude of charge, which is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs per square. It is also known. 4 is the constant, pi is the constant, 3.14, having it the value of 3.14. Epsilon naught is the permittivity of free space, having the value of 8.85 into 10 power 11. And m is the mass of the atom being used, which is also known to us as atom under consideration is known to us. And v square, if we have the value of v square, then we can find out the radius r. How can we find the velocity of revolving electron? According to one of the postulates of Bohr's atomic model, if an electron is revolving around the nucleus with certain velocity, then its angular momentum will be given as, according to Bohr's atomic model, an electron revolving around the nucleus with angular velocity omega or with velocity v, then angular momentum mvr will be equal to nh over 2 pi. We are interested in finding the value of v, so on rearranging we will get v is equal to nh upon 2 pi mr. We need the value of v square, so on squaring both sides, we will get v square is equal to n square h square divided by 4 pi square m square r square. This is the value of v square. This is equation number 8. Now by putting the values of v square from equation 8 in equation 7, we will get of equation 8 in equation 7, we will get, students, this is equation number 7, r is equal to z e square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught m into the value of v square. What is the value of v square? This is the value of v square, n square h square divided by 4 pi square m square r square. On simplifying this equation, we will get, on rearranging, we will get r is equal to z e square. This third term will be shifted to first one, z e square into 4 pi square m square r square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught m into n square h square. This 4 will be cancelled out with this 4, pi will be cancelled out with pi square, m will be with m square, and r square will be cancelled out with this r. Now by simplifying, we will get 1 is equal to z e square pi m r divided by epsilon naught h square n square. We are interested in finding the value of r, so by rearranging, this r will remain here, this is shifted here, and this is which is multiplied with r when shifted here will be divided. So we will get r is equal to epsilon naught h square n square divided by z e square pi m. Z e square divided by pi, z e square pi m. This is the value of r. Epsilon naught is the constant permittivity of free space. H is the Planck's constant, it is also constant. Z is the atomic number, which is also constant. E is the charge number, also constant. Pi is constant, m is constant. Here is the only factor, which is n square. So we can say that r is equal to k into n square. What is k? K is the sum of all these constant parameters. So we can say that r is directly related to n square. If we have the value of n, number of shell, then we can calculate the radius of that specific shell. According to this equation, the radius of a circular path, the radius of the orbit is always directly related to the square of the number of shells, square of the value of number of shells. Means if we have r, n is equal to 1, then r is equal to 1. If we have n is equal to 2, r will be equal to 4. R will be 4 times away from r1. r2 will be 4 times greater than r1. If we have n is equal to 3, then it is 3 3s are 9, or 3 square is 9. So r will be 9 times away from the first orbit. R3 will be 9 times away from r1. It means radius is directly related to n square. And for an hydrogen atom where n is equal to 1, if n is equal to 1, then r will be equal to 0.529 angstroms. This is the radius of Bohr's orbit for an hydrogen atom, 0.529 angstroms or 0.53 angstroms. Students, hopefully you have got the concept. For any query you can ask question. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.